Over the past month, I've been working on something. If you've looked at my Twitter, you've probably seen it. I'm of course talking about my newest endeavor, creating a video game. It's going to take tons of effort, planning, and hard work, so join me in my journey, my first ever game creation devlog. Let's rewind a bit. Chosen, you've never made games or done anything of the sort. How can you expect to make something as big as this? Well, my dear viewer, I have actually done some games before. They were just really bad scratch builds of projects that never really went anywhere despite my personal passion, and I always lost motivation some way or another. But this time will be different. I should probably add the gameplay not final text at this point, but there isn't much gameplay to speak of, really. I mean, you see, I only really have small parts of the build done because in this stage of production, I've been more worried about giving the game more clear direction and refining certain concepts that I have from the source material. Where did this idea even come from, you ask, after I just mentioned source material? Well, buckle up because here we go. 3 years ago, I'm a freshman in high school, very unassuming. Little did I know, one of my decisions would lead here. So what was it? Well, over the past year, I had gotten very into D&D, so that school year, I decided I was going to finally take the plunge and write my own campaign. I worked on it a lot, referencing every book I could get my hands on. Then, just like all things I've worked on, like those old Scratch games even, I lost motivation when school got too hard. A year and a bit later, quarantine is deep, and now I'm halfway through sophomore year, kind of. Not sure where this falls. I decided to scrap everything that I had written before in freshman year and start again. But then I forgot about it very shortly, and because that iteration of the story was just kind of terrible. And then in the summer months before junior year, I finally came back, fresh eyes for the final time, started again, and this time I had the player characters of my friends to guide my direction. This time I had everything going right, and I managed to get 1/3 of the way through before tiring out and stopping due to other complications and realizing that my player friends were probably too busy to play this anymore. And now here we are, the winter months of my senior year. I wanted to try learning some game engines before leaving high school, and I was looking around for game ideas when I noticed my old beaten up notebook on the shelf. The story of a long forgotten world tied within the pages of a campaign book for a D&D adventure. So what am I going to do with it? I've been cycling through many ideas for what sort of game to make. First was a traditional RPG. Then it was something like the system in Steven Universe, Save the Light. But A, that was too obscure, and B, I really didn't know how to make a game like that, and also I didn't feel like it fit very well. Then I thought back to what I was basing this project off of, Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons is quite literally a turn-based tactical RPG, just on top of a table. So then it hit me, and I went on a roll from there, making some concept art and workshopping how characters would work in this new genre and medium. Let's go into the legendary characters and the story this is all based on. We have 5 main characters: Hunter, Becky, Cyan, Aubrey, and Kenzo. Now I know that's a lot, but I figured it was still cool to have all of the original D&D characters that were in the party. And so we have Hunter, a human knight with a rocky past and a caringly protective personality. We also have Becky, the town blacksmith, with the street smarts and the smarts to help arm her team. We have Cyan, the little dragonborn who has lived in Element Village as long as she can remember and rarely leaves its confines, eager to see what adventures await and using her small size to her advantage in stealth and her good looks to charm others. Aubrey, a human with a thing for books, exiled out of her original home and providing a large range of abilities to help her friends in whatever way she can. And finally Kenzo, a dragonborn with a strong heart but a big temper, a nomad that happened upon this town by sheer luck. They all just kind of met in one way or another and hit it off, become the party you will play as for the duration of the adventure. They're sent on a quest to retrieve the stolen elemental gems that keep this world in balance after they're taken from their place in the village. This takes them on a whimsical journey through time and space to get them back while an ancient evil is building up under their noses. So what's progress on all this in the actual game? Well, I've started by drawing out basic concept art, tweaking characters from the original campaign to fit the new medium. Some examples of this are Kenzo and Aubrey's combat capability, as in the original I didn't think they translated well. Kenzo's combat was originally almost a carbon copy of Cyan's abilities, so I decided to change it up a bit. He's now much more focused on support and melee, using immense strength to punch enemies, but also musical spells tied to his guitar to support allies. Aubrey was originally a ranger in a D&D campaign, need I say more? I scrapped nearly everything from that build and decided to rewrite her as a sorceress of sorts, using a powerful spellbook that she found to attack rather than any weapons found along the journey. In terms of development, I already had to start and stop it once. There was a first build that was originally intended for the developing RPG Architect engine, but I scrapped that and took a break to do concept art and spriting because that engine was too complicated for me. And I am now using GameMaker Studio 2. In terms of spriting and art design, I have sprited out many of the main and supporting characters in idle poses, so they're basic base poses. I have also fully spread out Hunter's main movement and implemented it into the current build, so he can now move around. Though I've decided to compose all the music myself, I've made no progress really on samples or tracks of any sort due to how big the other tasks are. And that leads us to the end of this first devlog. I can't say how many or how often this will happen, but I'll try to keep them in mind during the process of developing this game. If you want to watch the process a bit more closely, I have some options for those of you that want it. Follow me on Twitter. I enjoy posting smaller updates there just to share a bit more. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. I have a new Patreon now. It has a lot of benefits for you if you want to support. There's a new Discord server tied to it. You can get exclusive game-related benefits that you find out if you go to that page. It will be a very helpful source of income during development, and I will be sure to try and be transparent to keep any patrons updated. 3 tiers are currently being offered, though I may add more in the future, so stay tuned. Thank you all for watching this video, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It will all help this video get seen by the algorithm, and more people can watch it and learn about this project. Also be sure to turn on notifications to stay up to date. See you in the next one.